Hello everyone, I am Chris Swearingin, and this is Computer Magazine, and this is a special report on the worst ISP in the United States, according to Computer Magazine. And it's especially troubling given the times with net neutrality and the monopolies that these ISPs have on the industry. So, unfortunately, Mediacom has intentionally put itself at the bottom of the barrel, the very bottom of the barrel. Now, everyone knows I've been reporting on technology for 21 years with Computer Magazine, and I've been in the industry over 30 years. And I have never seen a company that is so intentionally dismissive of its own customers. It will take their money and not provide the service that they are charging for. And in fact, they'll snicker at the customer for the fact that this customer has no other options. Now, if that's you, you're part of the group I'm talking about. There are people who do have options, and for those people I say, avoid Mediacom at all costs. Unfortunately, there's thousands of people like me that have no choice and have experienced the same thing. Make sure to join the group, the Facebook group. We have a support group for a couple of years now called facebook.com/groups/Mediacom support. And tell us your story about Mediacom if you're one of Mediacom's victims. So, unfortunately, this is a company I've been stuck with and have personally dealt with. Now, I've dealt with a lot of ISPs over the years. Some good, some bad. But I try to report on the good things, companies that I can give a good word about, products that I can give a good word about. And if it's something less than stellar, then I prefer to not mention, unless it's in a review that we're doing of rankings of companies or something like that. But this is a special case, not only because of my experience, but because I've heard from thousands of people who have the same experience with this company, absolutely refusing to provide service to its customers, to repair problems with its service, both corporate and residential customers, and understanding that they have a monopoly. They just thumb their nose at their customers. It's the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. So, as we know, it's very troubling that these companies have these monopolies and can do this. So what I suggest to you is what I've done. In Mediacom's case, I'm not sure that it's going to make a difference, because I've filed with the FCC multiple times, and I've done it yet again. But if you have a company, an ISP that actually cares, somewhat cares, that you have problems with, that you've tried to resolve, that they refuse to resolve, then your next step is to take it to the FCC. Generally, a decent company, a somewhat decent company that has some form of self-respect, will then respond and try to resolve the issue. Now, Mediacom is an exception beyond all exceptions, because even in that case, they still laugh at you. They just literally laugh in their customer's face and still refuse to fix the issues. So we've got a lot of people who are a member of the groups have had the same experience, and this is going to take government action to resolve these monopolies, because as we know, net neutrality is just part of the issue. These companies have monopolies, and regulations must be changed. In fact, an article just was released. Let's take a look at it. And we'll come back to the FCC stuff and all. But yeah, the New York Post. So let's take a look at this article. FCC says net neutrality rules will end in June. The Federal Communications Commission said in a notice Thursday that landmark 2015 U.S. Open Internet rules will cease on June 11th. The FCC in December repealed the Obama-era net neutrality rules, allowing internet providers to block or slow websites as long as they disclose the practice. The FCC said the new rules will take effect 30 days from Friday. An FCC spokeswoman confirmed the new rules will take effect on June 11th. A group of states and others have sued to try to block the new rules from taking effect. The revised rules were a win for internet service providers like AT&T and Comcast and Mediacom, of course, but are opposed by internet firms like Facebook and Alphabet. The U.S. Senate is set to vote as early as next week on whether to reject the FCC repeal of the net neutrality rules. Proponents currently have the backing of 47 Democrats and 2 independents who caucus with Democrats, as well as Republican Senator Susan Collins. With a prolonged absence of Republican Senator John McCain due to illness, proponents believe they will win on a 50-49 vote. Senator Ed Markey said it was likely the vote will take place in the middle of next week. On Wednesday, senators officially filed a petition to force a net neutrality vote and 10 hours of floor debate under the Congressional Review Act. The FCC voted 3-2 to reverse Obama-era rules, barring service providers from blocking, slowing access to, or charging more for certain online content. Once they take effect, the new FCC rules would give internet service providers sweeping powers to change how consumers access the internet, but include new transparency requirements that require them to disclose any changes to consumers. Yeah, that's a joke, by the way, and we'll get into all this. If the Senate approves the measure, it would not likely pass the Republican-controlled House of Representatives. If the legislation were to pass the House, it is expected that President Donald Trump would veto it. In February, a coalition of 22 state attorneys general refiled legal challenges intended to block the Trump administration's repeal of net neutrality. FCC Chairman Ajit Pai has often said he is confident the agency's order will be upheld. Democrats have said they believe the issue would be key in November's midterm congressional elections, especially among younger internet-savvy voters. Republicans have said the FCC repeal would eliminate heavy-handed government regulations, encourage investment, and return the internet to pre-2015 rules. So, look, let me tell you, this, whatever your politics are, whatever side of Democrat, Republican, or the range in between, or outside of those ranges that you fall in, this is an issue that everybody should be united about because it is against the consumer. We already have a major problem with these ISPs. Regulations are going entirely in the wrong direction, or the removal of regulations. It was already bad the way it was. To then put things in this position with net neutrality, you just have no idea. If you're not already aware, if you're not in the industry, you're already aware of these issues, you just have no idea how bad this is going to get for every consumer in the United States. This needs to not happen. And then likewise, we need to do something about these companies' monopolies. Mediacom is a perfect example of what can go wrong. And when these companies have monopolies in an area, you have the option of having internet, crappy internet, paying exorbitant prices, or no internet at all. In many locations. Some locations you might have 2 options, and some progressive, not politically progressive necessarily, but progressive in their infrastructure, have even more options than that. So it's a real tragedy what is happening. But let me tell you, if you are a Mediacom customer, what you can do. And this applies to any ISP if you're having major problems. But I really need people out there to speak up about Mediacom. Join the group. We've also created a group on LinkedIn, Mediacom Support. And I'll put that link, I'll tweet that link out here. But we need you to file an FCC complaint. We need you to contact your local congressman, your local government, send letters to the Senate, to the Congress on a national level. Let's get the word out about Mediacom, that this is a terrible company. Something has to be done. This company really should be put out of business. It should not be operating in the United States. But if nothing else, major regulations need to be put in place. The government needs to clamp down on this company, and competition needs to be introduced into the service areas that they are monopolizing and screwing over their customers by the tens of thousands. So if you Google a file with the FCC, you'll find the link here. You'll see it's consumercomplaints.fcc.gov. You click on that. It's a very simple and quick process. If it's your internet, you'll click internet, and then you scroll down here and you click form, and all you do is you put in your email address, the subject, Mediacom is screwing me over for years now and still won't fix their issue, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it may be. Put a description here. You've got a few options here. Availability, which is generally what it's going to be in these cases. And if you click like availability, then there's a few other options that come up, and it'll have you, there's actually, the company Mediacom is actually in the list. They've had so many issues. They're in the drop down box right here, Mediacom. You'll put your internet method, cable, of course, generally with them, and that you're a current customer. And I'm sure if you're like me, you've contacted them 1,000 times, and they've put you through the runaround again and again and again, coming to your home, sending somebody, taking a week to get out to your home with a technician, even though they already know the issue, what the issue is. Then that technician saying, yep, I know it has nothing to do with your modem or your internal wiring, but sorry, corporate won't, this is what they require. And then they send out a line tech. That takes another week, and then the line tech does absolutely nothing. You eventually call back, and they say, oh yeah, the line tech went out and everything was fine. And you will be put through this process again and again and again, and they will never, ever, ever fix the issue. Like in my case, the issue, all the technicians have already acknowledged the issue is between their central office and the pole, that they've replaced all the wiring around this area except for the wire. The one, and the technician himself said it was a very poor quality wire, and he doesn't know why they replaced all the wiring within a 2-mile radius of here except for this one line, and that they're well aware it's 250 different residential homes that are affected by it, and that they're also having a problem with the card that feeds these 250 homes, and that corporate refuses to do anything about it. So anyway, that's my case. Who knows what yours is, but make sure to file with the FCC. You just put in a few more details, your account number, and you click submit, and that's it. And you will generally hear from them, your ISP, very quickly. You'll hear from Mediacom as well. Unfortunately, they'll just never do anything about it, and that's why we have to do something with our lawmakers or get a class action lawsuit together. If you're amenable to that, then join the group and let's talk about it. Because something has to be done against Mediacom specifically. But I'm sure this story is, well, I know this story is not just limited to Mediacom, and it's due to these companies having a monopoly. They have no incentive to give a crap about you at all. They can charge you extraordinary prices and tell you to go screw yourself if it's not working properly. So that's the sad reality we're dealing with. Okay, so also the group. Again, it's facebook.com/groups/Mediacom support. Join it up, and you can read all the stories people have posted here, my own stories, just all the problems people are having with Mediacom. It's tens of thousands of people who are getting screwed over by this company, and the company just laughs in their face. I mean, that's it. That's all you can get from them. And they know that they are in the position to do that because our lawmakers, instead of enacting new laws, penalizing Mediacom, no, what are they doing? They're relaxing the laws, and they're going to allow Mediacom to screw over everyone even more. That's the sad reality we're dealing with. Well, this was a Computer Magazine special report. We'll be back to the normal stuff here coming up, and this is not something I did happily. I have dealt with this issue for 6 years, literally 6 years, going around and around and around with Mediacom, with my internet either not functioning or functioning almost barely functioning. They've got some major issue in the line here causing noise, and it just makes it impossible. So meanwhile, I'm paying $170 a month for an internet connection that doesn't work for 6 years. So, you know, it's ridiculous. But what can we do? What can we do? We can file with the FCC. We can talk to our local and state government officials, and even send letters to federal senators and congressmen. And we can get a class action lawsuit together, because we know Mediacom is never ever going to fix this situation. They're going to continue to thumb their nose at their customers until they're forced to do otherwise. So I appreciate it. Join the group. Stay tuned to Computer Magazine. Remember, youtube.com/Computer Magazine, and we will talk to you soon.